Hello and welcome. My name is Zafar Iqbal, and you are watching the Mojo story. In a big move towards transparency of funds in political funding, in political funding, the Election Commission of India has today put up on its website the uh, the bonds, the list of the people who have in fact donated for the political parties and the recipients. Now there are two sets of data that have been put up on the website. One set of data that pertains to the entities who have donated, and the other set of data to the political parties who have received those funds. Let's try and analyze what has happened today. But this has happened a day before the set deadline. That's on the 15th of March. That was the deadline given to the Election Commission of India, but it's done it a day before that. Remember, the Chief Election Commissioner in a press conference in Jammu said the other day that all the data will be put up on the deadline given by the Supreme Court. To discuss this, we are joined by our editor-in-chief, Barkha Dutt, and Madhavan Narayanan, senior journalist and economist. Barkha, if I may start with you, what do you make of this, set of details and data that has been put up on the website of the Election Commission of India, the data that was essentially given by the State Bank of India? Now, there are two set of figures that have been put up in the value of 1 lakh, 10 lakh, and 1 crore. There are different companies that seem to be having donated that money and the political parties who have received those funding, but there's no way that those can be matched. But what can clearly be said that which are the companies who have been at the forefront of those donations, who have donated the most? What is your initial assessment when you see those figures, those data on the Election Commission of India website?
Well, very quickly, we should say that the very first file that has been published on the Election Commission website is more than 330 pages long. So it's going to take some serious amount of homework to go through all of the names. But what you can see in a glance is that it has the names of both corporations and individuals. So there are companies, there are recognizable companies. There are also recognizable individuals. For example, Ellen Mittal, who we all know, billionaire, the owner of ArcelorMittal. He has purchased bonds in his individual capacity. But then
Right.
there are also companies. In fact,
Yeah.
amongst the biggest donors, or I want to use the word correctly, amongst the biggest purchasers of bonds is a company called Future Gaming. Now we looked up who owns Future Gaming, and Future Gaming is owned by a man called Santiago Martin. And what's interesting is that the Enforcement Directorate raided Santiago Martin, who's known as the lottery king in South India, and as recently as 2023, though the bonds that he purchased were in 2020. Now, what is the value of the bonds he purchased? It's staggering. Madhavan, I'm sure, will weigh in on this in just
Yeah.
a moment, but it's
One
1,300. Let me just
368
say
crore.
it, 1,368 crores worth of bonds purchased. Then there is a company called Megha Engineering. It's a major infrastructure company. It's purchased 980 crores worth of bonds. Then there is a company, not a very well-known company. In fact, journalists at this moment are trying to decipher who owns this company. It's called Qwik Supply Chain Private Limited. It bought 410 crores of bonds. And like this, there are many, many names. In fact, as Madhavan speaks, I will show you what the Election Commission website looks like, how many pages it runs into. But we are just showing you the top three. Like if you just look at a glance, these
Yeah.
are probably the top three purchasers of bonds in terms of value. Now, I should be clear that at the moment, this has not been matched to which political party they purchased bonds and therefore gave money to. It could be all parties, it could be one party. That work still has to be done. That work of
Yeah.
matching these bonds and which party redeemed them, that work still has to be done. But we do know that among the top three electoral bond purchasers in terms of corporate entities, Future Gaming, Megha Engineering, and
Yeah.
the little known company called Qwik Supply Chain Private Limited. And now at this point, I'm going to let you and Madhavan have a conversation because I'm
Yeah.
going to pull out some of the documents
Right.
from the Election Commission. Madhavan, it's over to you.
Thanks, Barkha. Madhavan, the point that Barkha was saying, that we have got at least that three uh, big contributors, the Future Gaming, the Megha Engineering, and the third one. The point here is that when we look up for the details, we see that Future Gaming is a company that was run by a person who was traded in 2019, and these bonds were purchased in 2020. But then we see subsequently there were more raids on that company in 2023. So how does that, what is generally said, that there is a quid pro quo when you purchase the bonds, you get some sort of a relief, if so to say that, but that doesn't seem to be applying here.
Yeah, Zafar, we have to be extremely careful in the way we use words in discussing this
Yeah,
whole electoral bonds issue. First of all, let us be very clear. These are donations made legally through a banking channel, and therefore,
yeah,
you could say even if they are not publicly disclosed, from a technically legal standpoint, there is a transparency. Okay, so the real issue is whether there is a quid pro quo. If so, in what kind? And whether the quid pro quo is in exchange for policy decisions. The government has tremendous power in this country, in any country in general, but particularly in India, because one thing I wish to point out is that the government can award contracts through public sector companies or direct government owned bodies like the National Highway Authority of India. Okay, the government can make regulatory decisions, let's say in the spectrum auction or something. So if you see a
yeah,
name of a Bharti Airtel, you might say, was there some
yeah,
policy decision or regulatory ruling in which
yeah,
somebody gained from this or
yeah.
did not? And also the government is even promoting, as we see, Serum Institute of India is one of the buyers of electoral bonds, and the Covaxin uh, vaccine was actually promoted aggressively by India across the world, and Serum
Right,
Institute is one of the beneficiaries. So
right,
the real question is this, are these all parties part of Sabka Saath Sabka Vikas? That is the way
right.
government will say, or the BJP will talk. But at the same time, somebody else will say, the left parties may say, there are big business uh, entities that are benefiting from policy stroke, regulation stroke, government contract stroke promotional methods. So this is for the public to decide in an election year. Now, as
But
far as
but Madhavan, the
But
point
yeah,
is, the
let me
point.
even
let me
Yes,
complete because
Barkha. Yeah,
in specific answer to what you were saying about future gaming, one of the things that
yes,
has emerged in the recent times, which is very peculiar, especially there were income tax rates when VP Singh was the finance minister of India, and there was an agreement then that the names of those parties that were raided will not be disclosed because it unnecessarily creates trouble for them in terms of bad image. But now the ED rates are such so publicized that we do not know what is really going on. But if you see the way the legal processes take place in this country, there can be raids which are publicized. There can be raids that are not publicized. Then the legal process starts in terms of charge sheet being filed. If so, when is it being filed? What is the nature of the charge sheet? What is the intensity of the charge sheet? Whether there is conviction or not. Now, a cynic is bound to talk about this by saying, look, there are various kinds of pressure tactics being applied. Now, you can reason that one company buys ruling party bonds with the intention of cooling the government process. On the other hand, another person will say this whole thing was contributed as a quid pro quo because the government coerced this party into contributing. Okay. So these are things that we
no,
have to discuss.
Madhavan. The point is, if had that been the case, then why were subsequent raids again done on that
See,
company in
that,
2023?
that,
Because had
that is
that been
why,
the case, that it would have
look,
been settled in 2019.
Zafar, let me be, I think you are looking at it as I am looking at it from a conceptual point of view, because
Yeah,
it is not my job. Even now, as you and I speak, there are people still going over the spreadsheets. Even I had to go through tweets with attachments to get an idea because lots of people are parallelly working as we speak to try and match the data, try and understand who are the promoters. There are some companies like Madanlal Limited and MK something MK Private Limited, and
Yes.
there are electoral trusts that have contributed. So let us not go into the specific details right now, because as it is, even if the even after the details emerge, we will still not be able to easily establish
Right.
a quid pro quo, because this is not a Swiss bank payment. But
Right.
the point I am
Ca-
trying to make is very clear, which
Yeah.
is that are there beneficiaries of government action as well as inaction? Now, you are talking about a future gaming case where a second raid was conducted. Now, we still
Yes.
don't have a conviction.
Can I just come in? Can I just come in? I
Yeah.
just want to welcome. Want to welcome to the program Vivek Bagai, who's a student at the National University of Singapore, and because he's better with numbers than all of us, I actually requested him to go through these masses, this data dump, as it were, and to give us a sense of what he's making sense of it, because he's a data science student and a data science expert. So Vivek, what's really leaping out at you before we get into the politics of this and the ethics of it? What is really leaping out at you? We were able to identify a couple of different companies that seem to be the big purchasers. Future Gaming was one, Megha Engineering was the other. I know you've prepared a kind of spreadsheet that sorts out this data. What are the big points that you see, Vivek?
Hi, so good evening, everyone. I think the main big point that comes out is that, like you're talking about, Quick Supplies is 410 crores. So I can see at least 20 companies that have donated at least 100 crores. And apart from Future Gaming, Mega, Quick Supply,
At
the
least,
other company,
hang on. That's a really important point. At least 20 companies have donated 100 crores.
at least 100 crores, correct?
Wow. Okay, go ahead.
And some of the other companies that I would consider significant would be Vedanta at number 5, Airtel at number 10,
When you say
Jindal
number
Steel.
5 and number 10, these are in terms of the value of the bonds purchased.
Correct, yeah.
So Vedanta, and go on.
Vedanta is at 375 crores, Airtel
Okay.
at 183 crores, and
Yeah.
Jindal Steel is at 15 at 123 crores. So from the top 20, these are like it's companies that I would consider significant.
Okay. And any other patterns that you see?
Well, so right now I've only done a very cursory glance, just like the sum of all the money that's been donated. I think something interesting that we could take a look at is, you know, whether all these donations are being done in large amounts, like at least a crore at a time, or are they being dumped in like a lakh, 10 lakhs, maybe smaller amounts, denominations. That's something I haven't taken a look at yet, but it's something to consider.
So Vivek, stay with us. Let's pick up this point, Madhavan, that Vivek, and this is why they say that the future belongs to the young, because he very quickly distilled a lot of interesting points for us to talk about. And I was particularly struck by Vivek's finding that at least 20 companies have purchased bonds worth 100 crores. Right? That's so we're not talking small change here. Whatever be our views, and let's be very clear, these companies were not breaking any law. This was the law of the land. This was legally permissible. The philosophy of the quid pro quo, in fact, I disagreed with you, Madhavan, on the example you gave of Serum Institute, because in many ways, why single out a Serum Institute, which was, what does it show? There's no established connection that we can make in terms of
No, I think
ethics or any benefit to these companies. But let's pick up this data point. 20 companies have donated at least 100 crores, according to Vivek's first glance at this page. What do you make of that, Madhavan?
I think it's very clear what I said in a tweet as well, Barkha, is that I've used the words very carefully. I've said there is a convergence of interests between government policies and big business. Okay. So whether you talk about Bharti Airtel, which is India's number 2 or number 1 telecom operator, whether you talk of DLF, which is India's biggest real estate company, or whether you're talking about ArcelorMittal, which is one of the world's biggest steel companies with interest in India, and even Serum Institute of India, which is like a the biggest vaccine company in India with a global presence. Now, what I want to say very clearly when I use the word convergence of interest is that these companies have benefited from government policies and regulatory frameworks. Now, this is not like the old license permit Raj, nor is it a Swiss bank payment, but there is a convergence of interest. For instance, I mentioned to Zafar that Covaxin was aggressively promoted by the government worldwide, and Serum Institute of India is certainly a beneficiary in such a framework. Now,
No,
this is
but Covaxin was not made by Serum.
no, I
AstraZeneca
think
was
Covaxin
there.
and also Indian vaccines in general. So Bharat Biotech and Serum Institute were the biggest beneficiaries. The government used the other one, AstraZeneca's thing, which was manufactured by Serum
Covishield.
Institute. Yeah,
Covishield was made by
Covishield.
Serum.
Sorry,
So
I apologize. It's Covishield.
that's the point.
So,
That's the point I'm making. That actually the government emphasized the Bharat Tech vaccine much more than Covishield. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure that we're
exactly.
being
Now,
fair
Barkha,
here.
no,
I'm not sure
Barkha,
we're being fair here in looking at the bonds and looking at a pandemic at a time of
absolutely. No,
crisis where,
Barkha,
yeah, and Serum Institute has bona fides in vaccine manufacturing. It's the largest vaccine manufacturer in the world.
yeah, so let me be very clear on this. I have said this very clearly. The question is, where are we standing as a democracy at this juncture? Because if you look at the way Western democracies function, the way influences, in fact, in Japan, when the Liberal Democratic Party was in trouble for corruption, the term used was not corruption at all. The term used was influence peddling. Okay, how influence is peddled, whether in terms of lobbying. In fact, the word lobby itself comes from the United States, where the corporate interests used to stand in the lobby to actually accost or ambush the lawmakers as they streamed out. So whether it is a lobbying power, whether it is no longer old-fashioned license permit Raj with a payoff in Swiss. It's for the public to decide. It is not for us to
Okay.
conjecture beyond the point.
Can I just come in? I just want to go back because I know at this point, I know the debate will continue, the moral arguments, the public morality arguments, all of these will continue. Right now we're disagreeing. We may agree on other instances, but Vivek, just to go back to you, there's if you were to open up the Excel sheet that you were going to share with me, where you looked at some of the biggest entities and also individuals. If you just want to take us through the big points, because a lot of people are just tuning in right now to ask us what's in this data. What's in this data, Vivek? So let me just unmute you, Vivek, and go ahead. Vivek, you're muted at your end. You need to unmute yourself. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so like we've already discussed, the largest purchasers are future gaming and hotel services. And actually, while Sir was talking, I noticed that um, they've donated under 3 company names. So one is Future Gaming and Hotel Services PR, one is Future Gaming and Hotel Services Private Limited, and one is Future Gaming and Hotel Services Private Limited, but abbreviated. So altogether, like all of them taken together is like 4,000 sorry 1,368 crore, which is
That's
quite
right.
significant.
That's right.
Yeah, the same with Vedanta, where initially I told you it was 375 crores. They actually also donated under a separate name. So together that's over 400 crores. And I also noticed there were quite a few kind of individual, not companies, but individuals donating, which is also quite a significant amount actually. Just from a first glance, I can see that that number is around like 713 crores just from individuals.
Just say that again. I want to add that on our screen. So you're saying
Yeah.
individuals have
700.
purchased bonds. Go ahead, Vivek.
From a
Worth.
cursory glance I've taken, it's over 700 crores at least.
And do you see any prominent individuals in this list?
Well, I don't recognize any of these names, but I can
But
I can tell you the
read them
names.
out. Yeah, can you read them out? We might know them. Yeah.
Mr. Konak Rajendra Shah,
Okay.
Smriti Agarwal,
Okay.
Mr.
Madhavan, if you
Saurabh,
know anyone, please do speak
No,
up.
not
These are the
no.
individuals. Yeah, go ahead, Vivek.
Mr. Saurabh and Sachin Bakriwal. So they both are in the top fives. I'm assuming they're related, but maybe I shouldn't make that
Okay.
assumption. Mr.
Okay.
Mayank Singhal, Mr.
Hmm.
Anuj Goenka, Mr. Nishant Yadav, Mr. Vijay Kumar Goyal, Mr. Pankaj Kumar Gupta, Mrs. Sushila Goenka,
Hmm.
Mr. Kokuntla Venugopal, Mr.
Hmm.
Balkishan Goenka, Mr. Deepak Khemka, Mr. Ishant Gupta, Mrs. Leela Devi Sultania, Mr. Raj Deepak Varshni, Amrita Agarwal, Mr. Abhijit Solomon Kamble, Mr. Giridharan Manivanan, Mr. Biswajit Ghosh, and Mr. Samir Bhatia. So these are just the names that I found.
Let me step in
And
there, please, a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Barkha,
Madhavan.
I think
Yeah.
I want you to draw the big picture into this because you should know, if you really look at the Indian stock market, there are 10,000 listed companies. Okay. There are
Yeah.
many,
Yeah.
many of them that have a market cap of as low as 200 crore, 300 crore, 1,000 crore. And we haven't even talked, they have never been part of the national conversations. The simple fact is that a lot of them are happy with the Modi government. Okay, for policies. They say we may not be getting license or anything, but we are happy with the way these regimes are. And some of the names that Vivek read out, my guess would be some of them will be genuinely bona fide parties because if you made 100 crores of profits over the past 10 years and you're happy with the government policies, you might buy bonds. So the real question for us is not to go randomly into the names, but look for the big contributions, which we have already mentioned, like Vedanta. The second
Yeah.
thing to see is if these numbers are as astounding as they are, the real question to ask is whether there has been a quid pro quo. I don't want to get into this because this will become too much of innuendo. But for instance, one person points out to me on Twitter saying that Anil Agarwal's Vedanta donated 100 crores and it was cleared a 70% subsidy by the central and state government for a semiconductor plant in Gujarat. Now, let me take you back, Barkha, because I can tell you that we will get a lot of flack for dropping names and linking quid pro quo. I'm only suggesting that these conversations will happen in the public and the opposition parties, whether we like it or not, whether the BJP likes it or not.
But
The
the
other thing,
opposition has also received money. We
Yeah,
haven't yet
yeah, yeah.
looked at the second list. We haven't yet looked at the second list, which is of all the political parties that received the funds. In fact, I want to
yeah.
open that list up, but Madhavan, go ahead.
No, let
As
me
you're
let
doing
me
that, I'm actually going to open
Yeah.
Barkha,
up that
No,
list.
no, no,
Yeah.
Let me say,
Madhavan, here is an assumption that if all these names are, we are automatically assuming that they would be linked with the ruling party. But the fact is that there are opposition parties also who have
see,
been the beneficiaries, and we
that
don't know who
no, no.
these contributions have gone to.
Let us be very clear about one thing. I am perfectly clear on the conceptual issues here. Let me say two things to clear up the air. First thing is that the so-called opposition party may not be an opposition party from the business entity's point of view. For instance, the
Right.
Congress has been in power in Rajasthan, okay, till a few months ago. So if Congress receives a fund and there are state level relationships between business entities and political parties, the business entity will maintain a relationship at the state level with X party and a central level with Y party, and it might want clearances or approvals or at least a beneficial policy regime in both. So let us not simply caricature opposition because Congress is still the ruling party in a couple of states at least, major states I'm talking about, including Karnataka, for instance. The other thing I want to mention from a quid pro quo discussion is that we all entered journalism when Arun Shourie was exposing A.R. Antule, who was the chief minister of Maharashtra, and Antule resigned on that investigative report carried out by Arun Shouri's Indian Express, which talked about a trust called the Indira Gandhi Pratibha Pratishthan, which Antule had set up. It was a trust to which, it was a legal payment, just like electoral bonds, that were made into the trust. But what
Yeah.
Shouri's investigation revealed was that sugar licenses were given by the state government, and those entities coincidentally were contributing to the Pratibha Pratishthan. So that led to Antule lost his career because of that. He didn't lose power. He later became an MP, but he had to quit. So he wasn't jailed or anything, but it was very legal. But it led to a certain public outcry that was considered a landmark in the history of democracy in India, because the chief minister resigned with a basis on the basis of an investigative report in a newspaper. So there are various shades of gray in this whole payout, donations, whatever you want to call it. I just want to place it before our viewers so that they can draw their own. They are smart
Yeah,
enough to understand.
can I jump in? Because while you're making it about the ruling party, and I'm not here to talk for or against any particular party, I just opened the second link on the Election Commission website. But before that, sorry, can we just go back to Vivek for a second? Vivek, you had a correction, and we should just correct that. You said that the individual contribution is worth what value? You have a corrected, updated figure on that
Yeah,
right
sorry,
now, Vivek?
I
Yeah, go ahead.
apologize.
No problem. Just tell us.
It's
This is
only
confusing.
it's
Yeah.
not 700, it's 7. Yeah, because
Okay.
I'm studying in Singapore, so the commas confuse me. But yeah, I
Okay.
apologize.
So I wanted to just correct that the individuals have purchased up to over 7 crores of bonds. Correct, Vivek?
Correct. But
Okay.
of that, a majority is just 3 people, I would say. Over 5 crores is 3 people.
Okay, so that's an important correction, and we apologize for that error. But it's confusing trawling through 400 pages in real time on a live broadcast. But while we're talking about this, Madhavan, I want you all to turn your attention now to this page that I'm actually going to scroll. Okay, hang on. Here it is. Look at, these are the parties. Okay, so while we're talking about the ruling party, this is the AIA DMK, and you can see what value they're getting. This is the BRS. I'm just doing a fast scroll here. Just confirm that you can see it. Are you all able to see this? Anyone?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to show. Here comes the BJP, right? There's the BRS. We already know that the BJP has got 57% of all electoral bonds. So therefore, you see this section being extremely long, and it just runs into pages and pages and pages and pages and pages. This is the redeeming of the bonds. Now remember, what has not been done is the matching of the purchasers to the parties. So we know, for example, that Future Gaming has purchased the maximum number of bonds, but were all bonds benefiting the BJP, or were some benefiting the BJP, some the Congress, some the DMK, some the AIDMK? Here comes the Congress. The Congress has received 10% of bonds. This is the Shiv Sena before the split. Then there's the TDP. Then there's Jagan Reddy's party. Then there's the AIDMK again. Then there's the BJP. So Madhavan, as they say in Hindi, is hamam mein sab nange hain. If this is morally questionable, there is nobody above the fray. And a corporate may need the center for something, or may want to be on the right side of a center, but it may also want to be on the right side of a state government.
Exactly. Now, 2 points here. First of all, Mr. Arun Jaitley was on record. He's no more with us, but he's the architect of this entire electoral bond scheme. And very clearly, the official position on this is that all parties are entitled to receive donations. There's nothing wrong with it. Now, there are 2 points here. One is that if the matching can be done by us or by investigative reporters or whoever, but was there any avenue for the party receiving the funds to know that it has received the funds, and in a way that it can connect with some government activity? Kapil Sibal, who's been arguing for against the bonds, says that these bonds are such that verbally you can communicate to the ruling party, look, I contributed so much, and they have a way of keeping their own accounts, and to that extent there is a nexus between the I wouldn't even say ruling party, I would just say party and the donator. And now, one thing I wish to point out from the scrolling that you did is that all these parties, including All India Anna Dravida Munneta Kazhagam, were actually running state governments when these bonds were bought. Most of the, if forget matching contributions with parties, you should contribute, match the dates also. So then you match the dates, you will find that was this the ruling party in the state when this happened? You will find that most of the cases, it was the ruling
No,
party at some point, whether it's a
Ma-
Jagan party.
Madhavan, the point is that those could have been redeemed 7 days later in a span of 7 days. So how can that be connected? Because it doesn't happen instantly that the funds are deposited, somebody redeems them. It can happen over a period of 7 days. So again,
No,
that is
I think
that
I
cannot.
personally want to keep redemption out of this conversation
Yeah,
because it only distracts the issue. The exact
yeah,
redemption date is simply not relevant to what we are discussing today. Let me be
right.
very blunt on that, because what we need to discuss is not the random information, but an analytical perspective that gives us an idea of whether or not there has been any unfair dealing in this, apart
But
from the
but
fact that it is
but,
legal.
but but would it be fair to say, before I go back to Vivek, would it be fair to say that if there is a corporate political nexus, which clearly is the larger point that you're making, then India is not unique in that. World over, it is corporate money. If you look at the super PACs in America, it's the same thing. It's just that there it's out in the open and people take sides more openly. That's point one. Point two, that corporate political nexus applies across entities and parties, if that's the real point that you're making. Now, hang on, Madhavan, just hold your thoughts for 1 second. Because if you're just joining in, the Election Commission has published the electoral bonds data. This is on Supreme Court order. And you may want to know who are the biggest purchasers of bonds. What we do not know right now is who purchased the bonds. What we do not know is what percentage of that money went to which political party. Overall, we know that the BJP has been the biggest beneficiary of the bonds. 57% of bonds to the BJP, 10% to the Congress. The Trinamool Congress is the third largest recipients. But who were the largest, biggest purchasers of the bonds? Vivek, I'm just going to ask you to take us through those purchases. We know some of them. We've been talking about the Future Gaming Group. Go ahead, Vivek.
Yes, thank you, Barkha. Now, keep in mind that these are just the individual names of companies. For example, Future Gaming has donated under 3 separate company names, but I'm only going to be reading out individual companies. So, first would be Future Gaming and Hotel Services PR, then would be Megha Engineering and Infrastructures Limited,
And
then Qwik.
can you possibly share the amounts, because they're in the parallel column? Yeah.
Sure. So from this company, Future Gaming and Hotel Services, PR has donated 1,200 crores. But keep in mind that they also donated under 2 other company names for a total of 160 additional crores. So together, it's around 1370 crores. Then Megha Engineering has donated 820 crores. Quick Supply
Hang
Supply
on, it's
Chain.
eight Megha Engineering. We thought it's 980. Maybe there's another name for them also.
That is possible. I haven't checked that.
Okay.
I'll make sure to check
Okay.
that after this.
Okay.
Quick Supply Chain Private Limited under this company name donated 410 crores.
And what's interesting is very little is known, Madhavan, about this company. So that's also something to pay attention to. This company, seems to be the number three, possibly the number three purchaser of bonds at this point.
And
Madhavan,
which particular
quick,
company?
quick, quick Supply Chain Private Limited.
Yeah,
Quick
we
Supply
don't know
Chain. Much
from
about
the.
it.
I
Yeah,
think
we
if
don't know much about
was
it. But
investigating, probably it sounds like a food company, but supply chain is also an important part of infrastructure. But let me make a
yeah,
slightly.
sorry. Madhavan, we're still going through the list. I'll come to you right after that. Vivek, go ahead. Yeah.
Right. So after Quick Supply is Haldia Energy Limited at
Can you can you
37
can you can you spell that out?
HALDIA Energy Limited.
Haldia. Okay, Haldia.
Haldia. Yeah,
Yeah.
377 crores, followed
What's the
by
what's the full name? Haldia
Energy Limited,
it has purchased how much?
377 crores.
May I come in? I have to
Yeah.
say, Haldia Energy is promoted by Sanjeev Goenka. Okay, I have been
Okay.
checking the board of directors. It is Sanjeev Goenka company, and Sanjeev Goenka separately has contributed. There were three entities I noticed for the RP Goenka SG group, which is Sanjeev Goenka. So there is nothing surprising there because it joins the list of the Mittals and the ALF,
Sure.
DLF and all. But I
Sure.
wish to point out that, we have sufficient elbow room in the donation structure for even known entities to make contributions through less known entities, through electoral trusts, as well as smaller companies or through go-betweens. And let's face it, some of them are de facto shell companies because
Yeah.
they have no public character in terms of balance
Of
sheets
course,
or
that
book.
doesn't. Of course, that doesn't apply to Haldia Energy, but we do really need to know a
Yeah,
little bit
that's
more
what I
about
mean to say.
some of the other
Haldia Energy
companies.
was quickly able to
Yes.
establish that it was
Yes. Correct. Okay. I'm
Sanitary.
going to let Vivek just go through a few more
See,
names.
Madan
Go ahead,
Lal
Vivek.
Limited. I would love to see Vivek dig up who does Madan Lal Limited.
Okay. Let him just go through the names he has, and then we'll come to Madan Lal Limited. Okay, Vivek, please go ahead.
Well, yeah, talking about Madan Lal Limited, they are in the top 10, but right after Haldia is,
Madan Lal Limited is in the top 10.
yeah, it's at 185 crores at number
Yeah, and
9.
its board of directors has Radhesham Khetan, and they are Keventer. Interestingly, I also noticed that Keventer Projects has separately contributed to the Electoral Bonds Fund, whereas Radhesham Khetan also happens to be chief operating officer of Keventer Projects, apart from being part of the Madan Lal Limited. So they are supposed to be in real estate, business development, and they are all Calcutta entities, very interestingly, because these are established companies, contrary to what I thought earlier, because they are smaller companies in the larger scheme of things, not compared to, say, the Ambanis or Adanis or Vedanta. But
Mhm.
there is this group which is called the MKJ Group, which is
Mhm.
also called the Keventer Group. And these are legitimate business entities. And
Keventers is like the Keventers milk. I mean, it's the same.
that's the
I mean,
interesting part. The Keventer, to the best of my knowledge and belief, this is not so. But many brands have changed hands in the recent years, and they also have come in as co-investors in some cases. So I'm sorry, but this requires deeper digging. It may or may not
okay.
be the case.
Can I
And
just yeah, sorry. You go ahead. Can I let Vivek complete maybe just a few more names and then we'll take last comments? Yeah, Vivek, go ahead.
Right. I mean, I was just listening to Sir, and I think he has his finger on the pulse because Keventer is also in the top 10 um,
Okay. At what value?
at 195 crores.
Okay.
And
At
we also
195
have
crores.
the first Vedanta company, Vedanta Limited, at 375. But keep in mind that if you include so they have it one as Vedanta Limited in full form, and then Vedanta Limited as an abbreviation. Together, they're 400, just over 400 crores.
Right.
And after that, we have SL Mining, which is at 224 crores.
1 second. SL Mining purchases over 200 crores, I'll say. Right?
Yes, correct. And
Yeah.
also, we have Western Up Power Transmission Company Limited
I
at
think Madhavan
220.
has a
yeah,
1 second.
I
Western?
just
Western?
no, I came up with something interesting. Qwik Supply Chain was one company mentioned as a leading contributor.
Yeah.
They are
Yes.
supposed to be an ancillary company supplying.
Right.
They are linked to a Reliance group.
Yeah. Yeah.
They actually they are uh, a leading partner for Reliance. Qwik Supply Chain. So
But what we were able to, when we were looking at that, we thought that there's a client service relationship and no
exactly, I
ownership
say
relation.
partner. I use the word partner, and
Yeah, they have a business relation with Reliance, but not
yeah,
necessarily any
but
other relation.
but there have
One
been
should clarify. Yeah.
yeah, but there have been rumors in the market that Qwik Supply Chain, much before the bonds release, there have been rumors in the market that Qwik Supply is owned by Reliance. Now, I'm looking as we speak. I'm looking into the board of directors of this company, and to see if there is any relationship that I can establish. And at this point, I'm unable to because I think, yeah, it is owned by Vipul. Director is Vipul Pranlal Mehta, and there is Tapas Mitra. But it's a very lean company. But I'm sure tongues are going to wag saying that this is essentially a leading beneficiary of Reliance Retail, and therefore it is being, upfront for
I
Reliance.
mean, yeah. So see, we've got to be a little more careful than the wagging tongues. We've got to actually show it through data. So I want to just say that these are, we cannot endorse rumors. We have to
Yeah,
do our own
exactly. So
homework.
I'm
We,
clearly,
yeah, yeah.
but I have established the company legally as a leading beneficiary of contracts from Reliance Group. That
A
is
business.
evident.
I'm going to use more cautious language and say that they have had a business relationship with the Reliance Group, which
Yeah,
would be more
fair
accurate.
enough. That's the same thing.
And let's be accurate. Vivek, any other patterns before we actually take closing comments?
Well, so the only other company in the top 10, as I'd mentioned earlier, is Bharti Airtel Limited at 183 crores.
Bharti Airtel at 183 crores.
Yes, and just piggybacking off what Sir had talked about earlier about Keventer and MKJ, I just digged up two companies under the MKJ name. Together, they are
What is
192 crores.
MKJ? Sorry to be dumb here, but what is MKJ?
It's the
Um,
same
Is
group.
that
The same group as
as
Keventers. Same as
I,
Keventers.
I see. Okay, Vivek, sorry, go ahead.
I think for a
right.
TV show, we are not doing bad TV investigative
I
journalism.
know, I know. We're
We
doing
take
it,
it on the
and we're
fly.
doing it in real time. So to our audience, for the some of the mistakes we may have made while doing our math badly, do forgive
I
us.
think
Yes.
I'm excited, Barkha, because my years as a business journalist are helping, because it's normally not common
And
for a live TV chat to dig up facts as we do.
and
So
we have a
we are,
young
we are
man to help us. We have
let's
Vivek
congratulate
to
each
say thank
other
you.
irrespective of
Yes.
who won. We are just digging
Yeah.
up facts. That's all we do.
Yeah. Correct. Sorry, Vivek. Go ahead. Go ahead, Vivek. Yeah.
Right, like I was saying, so MKJ has invested under two company names. Together, that's 190 crores. And then if you include Keventer as well, that's over 380 crores. Um,
Right.
some other companies in the top 20, I'd mentioned earlier, Jindal Steel, DLF Commercial Developers is also in the top 20.
Okay.
Birla Carbon India Private Limited. Um, some of these other companies I don't really recognize, but I could read out the names
Please
if
do.
you're
Please do.
interested.
We might. Yes. Please do.
Yashodha Super Specialty Hospital,
Mm-hmm.
Utkal Alumina International Limited, um, BJ Shirke Construction
Yeah, that's
Technology,
a very well-known company.
uh,
Okay. Go ahead.
Dhariwal Infrastructure Limited, and Chennai Greenwoods Private Limited.
Right. So now each of these companies, of course, could have a story. There will be philosophical questions raised about, whether this was quid pro quo. But Madhavan, I still have to, I'm not a fan of anonymity that drove these bonds, and clearly the bonds are now gone. The Supreme Court has struck them down. But why would it have been any better in cash or check?
I
The
personally
same
think
quid pro quo questions that you have would have applied to any form of political funding of politics, right? Of
I'm sorry
elections.
to, I'm really sad that Arun Jaitley is not here today amongst us, because the whole, let me take, the whole thing was designed as per Mr. Jaitley to be an instrument of confidentiality without losing track of the housekeeping requirements of the know your customer or know your
Yeah.
audit trail scheme. But the people who are criticizing it, such as Kapil Sibal and others, say that the whole thing can still be communicated. So the last loop is covered verbally between the contributor and the ruling party, and therefore there is something wrong with the system. So this is supposed to be a way of staying away from drug money or mafia money or foreign money. That is one way of
Mm-hmm.
looking at it. But but it is still not the best way to have a publicly transparent thing, because there is a fine line dividing confidentiality from secrecy in this.
Yeah.
So one man's confidentiality is another person's cover up. So this is where we need to typically end this kind of a show, because we don't want to insinuate,
Right.
But
Yeah.
this is going to be discussed in an election year. There's no way we can run away from that.
Well,
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of data. I mean, just Vivek pointing out there that Future Gaming, which is the top purchaser of electoral bonds, has bought bonds under three different names: Future Gaming and Hotel Services, Future Gaming and Hotel Services Private Limited, Oh, that's the same thing. Vivek, do you want to take us through those three names? I think I'm stumbling there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is just a quirk of how the data was released or whether it's actually three different names.
Yeah.
But yes, from the data itself, Future Gaming has donated under three separate names. All are Future Gaming and Hotel Services. The only difference is that one has private limited in full, one is private limited in abbreviation, and one is just
Could it
Future
just be
Gaming and
different?
Hotel
Could it just
Services.
be different dates? Could it be different dates at the same name?
Yes, that's definitely possible.
So I don't think it's three names but three entries. We should just be a little clear. I don't think
Yeah.
I think it's three entries and not three names, but
Yeah.
three different points. But that still didn't stop the owner, Madhavan. I will still end with that thought. Santiago Martin, the promoter of the Future Group, from being raided both in 2019. He buys the bonds, starts to buy the bonds in 2020, and he then gets raided again in 2023. So
Yeah.
so
Well, somebody is
well,
going to stand up and say, "Oh, that was a hint for him to buy more bonds." No,
well, I don't know. There's no
but
end to conspiracy.
let me also say that the Keventer reality and Keventers incidentally also apparently turns out to be the biggest FMCG company in Eastern India. And therefore,
Yeah.
there is, although I have not formally established this, it looks like the MKJ group has a large franchise to even run Keventers as a consumer brand, except that we haven't in the pecking order of Indian corporate hierarchy, they may be nowhere, but they're probably if you look at the size of Eastern India, which is bigger than Western Europe, you know that we are talking about a big economy, big entities, lots of money flowing, but net, you are absolutely right. We may not insinuate, but discussions will
Yeah.
continue. But as far as
And
future
just
gaming is concerned, I think future gaming certainly is going to get a lot of attention because
yeah.
it's not even big business; it's just a lottery ticket seller.
Yeah.
So
Future Gaming
No.
1,368, Megha Engineering close to
But
900, and then there's a little known company called Qwik Supply Chain Private Limited.
that's re-established. In
Yes,
fact, I have actually spotted a web page that refers to Qwik Supply Chain as within brackets as Reliance Retail. I don't know. I'm still using old-fashioned standards to double verify whether there is an
Okay.
ownership as well. But
Yes.
there is certainly a business relationship.
But as we said, we're being cautious, and we know that there's a business relationship because the promoters of Qwik Supply Chain actually issued a statement to that effect. So that much we have checked up. We're going to end here because it's going to take us many days to actually find more details here. So we're going to thank Vivek for at least taking us through some of those very important points. We couldn't have done it without him. Thank you, Madhavan, and thank you very much, Zafar. There's going to be a lot more to unpack here. But we will leave it here for now and say thank you and goodbye to all of you. Thank you. Mojo Story has always made a commitment to its viewers to go to where the story is. And as you can see here, we are at the epicenter of the Israel war on Gaza. We are right at the front line, about 1 mile from the Gaza Strip, as the Israeli military gets ready with its tanks and its gunners to begin its final frontal assault that will take troops into Gaza. As we said, we are not like other organizations. We believe in giving you all sides of the story objectively and as much as possible from the ground. And that's exactly what we're doing here, covering the biggest global story today from the epicenter of the war zone. So please, we need your support. Support us, become a Mojo member, subscribe to us, spread the word, and thank you for your support.